Good afternoon. Welcome to River's Edge Homestead. Here at the homestead, the last 6 days we've been plunking away at doing some landscaping, planting some produce. You can kind of see my yard's a mess, mostly because it's pretty wet yet. And this part here where the hump is still is very wet, very soggy. And every time I try to do any work in there, I bury my tractor up to my axle and I have to pull it out. So today we're going to talk a little bit about growing in northwestern Ontario in heavy clay soil. Now, what I mean by heavy clay is that when you walk through this soil wet, it just sticks to your shoes. Sticks to your shoes like dog feces, and you have to scrape it off. The other thing to consider is when I was tried to grow fruit trees before, is they would grow about a year and then they die. I couldn't quite figure out why, so I started doing research. And one of the things that came up, which made a lot of sense to me, is that clay in the olden days was used for making pots to hold water. So if you dig down into the clay and you put nice soil in an area like 3 feet around and you plop your tree roots in it, what happens is when it rains, you will flood that area. And basically your tree or your fruit tree is planted in bog. It just holds water forever. So your tree roots rot out. So now we've put 4 new trees in, and we're going to try something a little bit different. And I don't know if you can see this, but we surface planted them. So the idea behind surface planting is your roots are going to go out about as much as the branches. So on an apple and pear tree, you're going to need a circumference of 5 feet eventually. Now we've got small trees, so we basically used one large bag of topsoil around each base, and we put some compost in it, and then I put peat moss above it. Now, as the trees grow, I'll keep adding surface soil around it to let the roots spread. Easy way to spread is through this nice topsoil, and it'll stay nice and dry because the topsoil will let the water soak down to the clay, and it'll sit low, and the roots will stay dry and they will not rot out. So keeping that in mind, growing in clay is very hard to do, okay? But it can be done. A lot of times you got to use raised gardens like we do here. That's a little cherry bush, nicely in flower. And these ones here are just full of your common vegetables, beans, carrots. I don't know what my wife all planted in here, but she does, looks like there's some onions or leeks. And those carry on and they grow quite well through the summer, and we'll be harvesting food for our table. Now, the other thing that does grow here is grapes. Down here you can kind of see a small grape patch. Well, I'm going to add to it this year. I picked up some more grape plants. Again, they're surface planted. Okay, there's the little ones here that I bought last year. Very cheapy 6 in a pack ones. I don't recommend doing that. I only had 2 survive of the 6. So this year I bought bigger ones from a reputable nursery here in town. Hopefully, since they were seeded and raised in northwestern Ontario, hopefully they'll have a better resilience towards climate. Okay. Now, again, more raised beds. Bit of a disaster here. Springtime, everything takes off on you. But what we grow in here, common vegetables, that's asparagus. Asparagus will grow here in a nice raised bed. We got some goji berry bushes. Okay. They're slow to grow. We thought we lost them, but they came back this year. Raspberries, very prolific. Easy to grow in northwestern Ontario. Those stupid things grow just about anywhere. And they will grow in clay. You don't need to put them in raised beds. We have them in raised beds because we like to try to control them. Key word is try. And the other bed here is Jerusalem artichokes, a reproducing root vegetable that it can be substituted for potatoes. They do grow up here in northwestern Ontario also. Now, if we go for a bit of a walk across the yard here, you can see I'm still working on my yard. Lots of things to be done on homestead. This is our garden. Okay, and if you kind of look at the garden, it looks pretty healthy. Potatoes, beans, again, any crop in here we can grow because we've worked the soil up. What do I mean by that? We've taken the clay, we turned it over, we added topsoil to it, added compost to it, a couple trailerfuls of manure, and worked it up. It's now a nice workable garden in clay, and it grows quite well. It grows weeds quite well too. So we can grow just about anything that grows in northwestern Ontario in this soil. Okay, but it needed work. So you can't grow in straight clay. You got to add to it, but you can produce a nice garden. If we kind of go for another walk here, some of the other things we grow. Currant bushes. These are producing. They're a couple of years old. One of the things I had to learn was how to check soil pH and add dolomite. And once I figured that out, they're starting to grow very well. Haskap bushes. They grow nicely. Plum tree, this one took a bit of a beating. A bear got into it and knocked some of the branches off, but it is flowering right now, and it will grow here. So we've got haskap bushes, we've got currant bushes, and they're all, some are in raised beds, some are just into the ground where I raise them up. Another thing we're going to try to get growing or established, these plants are last year's, and they are mulberry bushes. Supposed to grow here. So these are last year's growths. They came back, surface planted again. So this year I'd added some more topsoil around them, some compost or manure, whatever you want to call it, and some peat moss. So hopefully these things will continue to flourish and grow a little bit more. Okay, and we have another plum tree over here, in full flower. Horseradish grows right in the clay. It's prolific, spreads like crazy, so you got to watch it. And of course, blueberries. I had trouble establishing blueberries until I did some reading. Blueberries like to grow directly in peat moss, specifically spargum peat moss, if I pronounce that properly, but they will grow. Okay, another currant bush. A couple more other currant bush, and behind there is a pear tree. Now, one of the things I was confused about is on this side of the property, I did a direct plant on these trees, and they survived. But the key factor here is this soil is a little bit different, and it's a little drier. The reason it's a little bit drier is because this part of the lot is up against, if you can kind of see it here, is up against a 20-foot drop or so. So the water doesn't pool here. It has a natural drainage to it, so it's not pooling like the back section of my lot. So these trees could be direct planted, and they seem to thrive. A good way to check if you can direct plant is to dig a 3-foot hole in your on your lawn and your clay, and see how long the water stays there for. On the other side of my lot, that water will stay all summer. So then you know that you're probably not going to have much success in direct planting. You're going to have to surface plant everything. Anyway, a bit of a long blurb here, but some things we're having some success in. And the next thing I will show you is the larger lot where we're going to continue to develop a garden straight from the bush. So nothing done. We're starting to develop it. It'll be year 3 or 4, I can't remember. And we'll show you how it looks and what I'm doing to get that garden to keep producing and start producing better and better all the time. Anyway, you have a good afternoon, and this is River's Edge Homestead.